Let's talk about anxiety to action and how do you insert joy as a winning strategy when you're stuck in anxiety, yet you want to move into living into that action? What can we do? And Michelle, you are an expert on joy, joy writing, just the fun of joy. And I think it's such a huge winning strategy. Share with us really what you've learned as you really developed a life all about joy and living in that joy zone. What are your desired outcomes for really learning how to move from anxiety to action?
Oh, I love that. Thank you. And I'm going to tell a short, quick story. I wrote a book about 10 or 12 years ago called Get a Life That Doesn't Suck.
Here we go, team.
And I had so many people out, and they would say, "What's your book about?" And I would say, "Well, it's all about how to live a joyful life." And they would say, "Well, then why does it have suck in the title? Like, how can you?" And one of my greatest learnings, so this is part one of answering your question. I have two more parts. Is we absolutely, and I, as an author and a coach and a consultant, must meet people where they are. And when I first was writing the book, I wanted to bang them over the head and drag them into the joy cave. Not a good strategy. And so I wrote this book. I wrote the proposal and sent it out to, I don't know, like 30 agents or something, and got 30 declines. And all I did was change the title. The title originally was Planet Joyride, an Owner's Manual, blah, blah, blah. And to this title. And it came to me when I was on the beach in Cabo San Lucas. I was determined to get this book published. And I sent it out to pretty much the same list of agents. And I had like 17 agents want to represent the book. So that tells you the importance of, the approach, right? So, and I would view getting a life that doesn't suck is moving out of that anxiety and into that action. So one of the most fascinating things to me when I was doing all this mega joy research was that there's a science behind, and the science didn't surprise me, but the specificity of the science behind getting back to joy from anxiety was very specific. So back in the 70s, a scientist at the University of California, San Francisco, did all of this amazing research. And what he found was that there is between 0.2 and 0.5 of 1 second, about the amount of time it takes to say one, where you have a choice in how you respond to a triggering situation. And so that 0.2, 0.5, and of course, I can think of the many times that I have done a terrible job of responding in the right way. But once I learned that science, it caused me to think of a technique. How can I stop getting into that amygdala hijack, which I'm sure you and others have heard about, and instead show up as the, thoughtful, strategic, compassionate Michelle, not the, crazy wigged out one who's upset. And so I looked at a bunch of different techniques, and one of them, some cognitive behavioral therapy and other things. And I made this amalgamation of techniques that were proven to reset your brain in that point between 0.2 and 0.5 of a second. So mine is called the BACK technique, and it stands for breathe, acknowledge, choose, and kick into gear. And it all happens in a second. So, but you have to practice it. You can't just do it and think you're going to be great at it. I had one client write it on her hand with a Sharpie because she knew people wouldn't see the inside of her hand on a Zoom call. And she was like, oh. So breathing is the number one thing, because if you take a breath in, this is all part of that 0.2 to 0.5 of a second. Taking a breath does all sorts of things neurochemically that help calm you down and down-regulate your nervous system. That's B. A, acknowledge, is I want to strangle him. I feel embarrassed. That was so unfair, like truly acknowledging whatever the feeling is. And This is privately, you do it in your mind. You don't
Right.
do it out loud, just to be clear.
This is internal, right?
This is self-chat. And but it's very, like, you call it what it feels like, and you just label it. So that's A for acknowledge. C is choose what the best you would do. Choose what the best you would do. And the best you would not reach across the desk and strangle your boss when you just got a pink slip. The best you would not yell at your daughter when she spills the nail polish. I mean, the best you would offer a calm response. And the whole point of the breathe and the acknowledge and the choose, this is all happening in a millisecond, is that it lets the neocortex, the strategic part of your brain, kick into gear. So you actually can choose how you respond as opposed to just a raw reaction. And then the K is kick into gear. Act.
That's your action, right? That's action. Yeah.
So the BACK, the back technique, and it really does work. I continue to use it, of course. I'm a fan. And what I find is my recovery time is so much shorter because I don't go through this whole roller coaster of big drama and big this and big that. It's like I nip it in the bud, or, if it were an injury, it's like I ice the injury, I wrap it, I do everything, and I'm on a quicker road to recovery. So that's the back technique. And I can share something so that you can share that with your audience and they can put that into practice. You will be
practice team. That's the answer, really. I mean, that's what's beautiful about this joy break of really having, how do we move from anxiety to action, is it's all about the back technique. So love that, Michelle. Thank you for that beautiful action.
You're welcome.